Hi, and welcome to Recovered, Interviews with Alcoholics, a podcast from the Magdalen House, a recovery community for alcoholism. We're a 501c3 nonprofit in Dallas, Texas, lovingly known by many as Maggies. Every first and third Wednesday, we drop a new episode from one of our 3 podcast series. In Recovered, a recovered alcoholic from our community sits down and shares their story, what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. I'm your host, Laura Wilson, a recovered alcoholic and the communications manager here at Maggie's. Whether you're in recovery, curious about sobriety, or here to support someone you care about, we're really glad you're tuning in. Thanks for being here. Hello, podcast listeners, and welcome to this week's episode of Recovered, Interviews with Alcoholics. We're going to just get right into it today. I have Savannah Askin in the chair. So, Savannah, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. So glad you're here, and we're very excited to hear your story because I know you have been very involved with the Magdalen House since you came through. So tell me a little bit about what your early drinking looked like. Like, when did it become a problem for you?
Yeah, so I actually had my first drink at the age of 13, and I would say that I was always drinking alcoholically from then. I didn't really know what that meant or what that looked like in the beginning, but at age 13, I took my first drink and was doing some outside activities as well, and that night I had an experience that I won't go deep into, but just from there I was off to the races very, very young. So in the beginning it was very magical for me. During high school I was living with my mother, who was also an alcoholic, and through her struggles, she wasn't very present in my high school life. So I kind of just did whatever I wanted to. But with that, it was, going to parties, and I could definitely drink anyone under the table and knew that was a little interesting. But normally my nights would end up on some random person's couch or in jail a few times. I knew it wasn't normal, and my friends would tell me, like, hey, you need to chill out. And in my alcoholic mind, I thought I was chilling out. But, of course, there's no chilling out as an alcoholic. I ended up dropping out of high school at a young age. And I went to rehab during high school as well at the age of 15, 16. And there I was taught that I was drinking due to trauma. So I had some things happen in my life, and of course I was drinking, right? Because these things happened to me. I always had a reason to drink. Mm-hmm. But that's not why I drink. I drink because I'm an alcoholic, because I have a disease of the mind and the body. But during this time, when I was uneducated of what the disease of alcoholism was and looked like, I went to a 30-day treatment, was actually drinking in rehab. And when I came back home, it felt good. Everyone was proud of me. My friends even had a coming home party for me. So there I was, back off to the races. And not because of them, it was because of me. Yeah. So going through high school, it became a before school thing. During my lunch break thing, where I would run to the store and get Four Locos or MD or whatever I could get my hands on at the time. And after school, obviously, I would go on these things called benders and think that was normal. And of course, no one stayed on the bender as long as I did. And it would normally end up pretty bad when I would stop. I would get really sick. I remember there was one instance where I had drinking so much that, along with a couple outside issues, I had fell through the window of my house and I went flatline. I was in ICU, hooked up to monitors. I died. And still, after that, I went to good old Green Oaks because they truly thought I was trying to kill myself, and that's not what I was trying to do. I just had no control over the amount I was taking or drinking. I quit all of the outside stuff, but alcohol I could not quit.
Were you actively trying to quit, or were you kind of having that internal battle of, okay, well, I know, this is causing problems for me. I literally just died and I'm still drinking. Like, did you have that mental obsession or that imbalance going on?
I knew that mentally I knew I was not doing the right thing at the time. I thought it was something I could control. And I knew I was letting down my family, and I knew all of these things were happening, and I just thought I was a bad person at the time. I couldn't stay stopped, and I definitely couldn't stop when I started. So I think it was really telling when I was 18. This was after dropping out of high school. I got a DWI and went to jail. I should have been dead with what I blew, but by the grace of God, I wasn't. It was telling for me when after that I was on probation and I still couldn't stay stopped. I tried AA, but for me, I was just there to get my paper signed for my probation officer.
Yep, been there.
And, to meet some new friends to drink with,
Yeah.
I wasn't really interested in getting real help at the time because I still had a lot of drinking to do.
Yeah.
Through my 20s. So I did know, though, that it was starting to become a real problem. But I didn't know what I was facing.
When you say you didn't know what you were facing, what do you mean by that?
I wasn't educated on what it means to be an alcoholic.
Right.
The only exposure I've known was from my mom. And when I thought what it meant to be an alcoholic was someone who would rather drink than be with their kids, or someone who made dumb decisions and would end up in the hospital. And ultimately, she lost her life due to alcoholism, and I still didn't know what it meant and what it looked like for her.
Were you, during this time, were you ever, in any of the other, 12-step meetings, like for children of alcoholics or for loved ones of alcoholics? Like, did any of that come through to you if you were even in those, or did that get in the way of your drinking?
I had been to Al-Anon like 2 or 3 times. I had also been put into counseling for my mom and me, but it was still more just very surface level, like, how do you feel about that? Mm-hmm. How does that make you feel? Not really getting to the root of the issue.
Right. So what happened in your life that led you to coming to the Magdalen House? Like, how did you get here?
I was sober for 10 months before coming. And during that time, I was still seeking validation through family, friends, myself. And I was always planning in the back of my head my relapse because I knew the way I stayed sober was through diets. So I would go on these super hardcore diets, like the Whole 30, 75 hard. because you cannot drink on these diets. And while, I felt good physically, but internally, I was still doing this for other people and not doing it for the right reason, I guess, because I knew I still didn't have it all figured out. Right. So planning my relapse, specifically, it was just like a thought in my head, that mental obsession. And I remember literally like talking to my friend about it and being like, I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's going to happen soon. And I was working for a mobile bartender at the time, and we were up for Margarita of the Year. And she was like, try this. Like, it doesn't have any alcohol in it. They knew I didn't drink because I made sure everybody knew.
Right.
Because my ego, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, are you sure? And she was like, yeah, it's just the mixer. And I took a sip, and right then I knew. I was like, this has alcohol in it. Mm-hmm. And I took that sip, and without even thinking about it, I drank the rest of it because I knew I wanted more. And I was fighting that allergy at that point. Like, it had kicked right back in after 10 months. So from there, I started right where I ended. This is very, very progressive disease. So it's not my tolerance. There's no tolerance for me. Like, I could still handle just as much. Mm-hmm. And it got just that much worse, to where my sisters, who absolutely mean the world to me, were kind of like all we have. They were worried sick about me. At the very end there, I had gone to it was Christmas time. I had gone to a Christmas party, and there were some nurses and doctors. So it was like a adult Christmas party,
like a real adult party.
Like, I don't think I belonged there.
Yeah.
And I decided to be the bartender.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's what we do, right?
Yeah. It's easier to get your drinking in without people monitoring
and
you.
I can be the cool person who takes a shot with everybody.
Exactly.
Well, that turned into me falling through a glass table and flatlining, and I was turning purple at the party. I don't know for sure what happened because I wasn't there.
You were dead again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that whole situation, obviously my sisters found out. My best friend since high school was worried sick about me, and they kind of, told me, like, we're done. And within 24 hours, because I made a firm resolution to stop. I said, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Right. I
can't drink anymore. I felt so dead inside. I didn't think there was a life worth living for me anymore. So I made that firm resolution, and within 24 hours, I was back off to the races. I felt physically ill. Alcohol was definitely my master. At that point, my whole world revolved around it, whether it was constantly checking the clock, being at work and seeing someone not finish their margarita and obsessing over it. Just all anything that has to do with alcohol. Making sure I can time my next shot, and make sure my tables are taken care of so that I can run to the restroom and take that shot so that I'm not shaking. So after Christmas, my sisters sat me down, and of course I was not sober for that. I was shaking uncontrollably. And they just told me, we are so scared. We cannot lose our baby sister. We've already lost our parents, and we don't want to lose our baby sister. So they wanted me to go to a 30-day treatment center, and I agreed to it. That 30-day treatment center didn't have a bed, so I went to the next 30-day treatment center. They didn't have a bed, and by the grace of God, I ended up at the Magdalen House. My sisters were very scared and skeptical because it was only 2 weeks. And I was so grateful. I was like, yeah, 2 weeks, I'm going to go. Like,
Right.
Everyone's going to get off my back, and I'm going to come out and hide it better. That's not what happened.
Yeah.
I came in, I always say the second day, because the first day, I don't know, I actually, my sponsor overnighted with me the first night, and I have no recollection of that.
Yeah.
So the second day, I sat down, and there was this beautiful woman. Her name's Erica Russell, and she was chairing a meeting, and she told us, she was like, open your first page to the book, the big book. And she was telling us how we can recover from this disease of alcoholism. And then when I heard that, I kind of opened my ears a little bit more, because I was like, what is this alcoholism? Like, I'm not that person. I'm not
Right.
the person that chooses alcohol over family, even though I was. My disease was choosing everything over, or alcohol over everything. So then we got into the allergy, and I was taught that I have something physically wrong in my body, that when I drink, there's a phenomenon of craving sets off. So I drink more and more and more, can't count my numbers. And I was like, okay, this sounds like me. Actually, when I think about it, like, I take that first drink and I'm drinking until I pass out, am in jail, or dead.
Literally.
Yeah. Literally. And then they talked about, like, how if it was only a physical allergy, then we just wouldn't drink right. So they taught me about the mental obsession part of it. And that is where, when we're stopped, we can't stay stopped. Our minds lie to us and tell us, it wasn't that bad. You can have one. You can control your drinking. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've said these exact literal things to myself internally. And then just hearing, like, I'm not a bad person. I am just sick. That was really, gave me a lot of hope for someone who felt like they didn't have a place in this world anymore. Mm-hmm. So with that, like, knowing that I was in the right place and I have this disease of alcoholism and there's something that I can do about it and recover from this disease, was everything.
Right.
Because I finally knew what was wrong with me. I knew that I was different. I knew that there was, like, all the things I couldn't put my finger on were being shown to me. Like, this is what is wrong, but let's work on it and let's fix it. So then we got into step 2. And I definitely believe the sun doesn't set on its own or rise. So, like, the spirituality of the program was really huge for me. Working through, like, resentment of my old higher power. And as an alcoholic, I like to overcomplicate everything.
Same. Yep.
So, yeah, I mean, the simplicity of the steps were so great, especially for someone that likes to overcomplicate everything. Getting a sponsor was amazing because it's this person who you want to be like, or I wanted to be like. She was so beautiful, and you could see the whites of her eyes, and she was happy, genuinely happy, and happy to help me, you know? So her taking me through the steps, and then with step 3, just making that commitment to work the rest of the steps was a no-brainer for me, because I was already ready to go to any length to get what my sponsor had and what all these amazing, beautiful women had. Yeah, that strong foundation was huge.
Yeah. I mean, it's so, I'm listening to your story, and that's, one of the beautiful things about this community. And I mean, I've seen you around for a year. I've known you for a year, but I did not ever realize how similar our stories are. Like, it's crazy. What several things that make the Magdalen House so different is, yes, our first step residential 14-day program focuses very heavily on 1, 2, and 3. But what sets it apart is that it's peer implemented, meaning that it's another alcoholic sitting in front of another alcoholic. And I was like you, I thought, okay, I can just come in here. I'm going to get the heat off my back. Maybe at most I'll go 30 days without drinking. And it's been, 6.5 years because, again, like you, I saw these beautiful women come in. They talked about their drinking, and it sounded like me. I could get on board with the mental obsession and with the physical allergy, and I had never heard it broken down like that. I had never read the big book, and all the places, that I've been, any other treatment centers, detox, mental hospital, whatnot. Nobody ever, well, I guess, let me rephrase that. If they did break it down in different 12-step meetings or anything, I wasn't ready to listen because I was there to get my paper signed. Mm-hmm. Eventually, I just started forging my paper.
Yes.
Yeah. So yes. I did not.
Or I would go for the last 15 minutes.
Yes, exactly. And, that's what I think is such the common thread with the men's and the women's community that comes through here. It's you're sitting in front of someone who's been through it, who understands it. Mm-hmm. And for me, like you said, it was, it wasn't necessarily like, yes, it was their sobriety that I wanted, but I wanted their happiness more than anything. Yeah. And they really do focus on 1, 2, and 3 in those 14 days. And then, we always say that sobriety opens the door, right? You come into the 14 days, you get the meetings and the education you need, but then when you get out in our next step, which is our non-residential, and then our community, that's where your recovery grows.
Yes.
So you get out of the house. Did you do next step as well?
I did.
Okay, so
did.
Take me through, what the next, parts of your steps and your journey looked like with that.
Yeah, so getting out of the house, I had at that point been evicted from where I was staying. So I ended up going into sober living. And I also didn't leave the front porch of Maggie's until I was signed up for Next Step and signed up to do my volunteer training, because I was scared. Getting out, you're so safe in these 4 walls of Maggie's, and I truly believe God lives here. Mm-hmm. So I did have that fear of being in the real world. I was scared of my phone. I was scared of the gas station. Mm-hmm. I was scared of everything. But I knew I had made that promise to myself. And I was given that gift of desperation to go to any length. So every time I faced something, I'd be like, I said I was going to go to any length.
Right.
So here we go.
Yeah.
And at this point, I had spiritual tools in my toolkit already. So going into Next Step was vital for me. It kept me engaged within the community. It kept me very involved. because we did have certain requirements that we had to meet. And it kind of taught me how to live life as a woman in recovery and as a recovered woman. I also learned a lot more about the steps, like in depth, through Next Step, which was really great because it's always nice to hear other people's perspectives. And I also worked the steps like my butt was on fire right when I got out. I did 5, 6, and 7, leaving the house, and got right on to 8, 9, and got to live in 10, 11, and 12 very early on. But being in Next Step, really, it helped me tremendously just take away that fear of the world, because life is still going to happen, out there. But it gave me a safe place to come, and especially while I was fighting my mental obsession, and be honest and be real about how my week was. And we had buddies at the time, so talking about the interaction between me and my buddy, and just not being hyper focused on alcohol.
Yeah.
While my mental obsession was flailing.
Yeah. Being of service to other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Being of service to other people. Talking to the girls that were in the house. And seeing the light come on in their eyes, too.
Was there any particular step, it sounds like you worked them very quickly. Did you hesitate, or were you worried about any particular step being hard, or were you just so desperate to have relief from the mental obsession and alcoholism and, going to any length that you didn't hesitate? Like, what was the hardest step for you?
I wouldn't say hard. For me, the steps were simple, but they weren't all easy. Because I had to face a lot of myself.
Right.
And all of the things I've done to others. And the things I've done to the people I love the most. So facing myself was definitely the hardest part of it. But it was also so rewarding because I got to recognize, like, hey, this is how I can show up differently. Mm-hmm. And I got to make those amends to people that I have done a lot of damage to. And I've gotten to reestablish relationships. My sisters today, they trust me. I think a game changer step for me was making amends, because that's when my mental obsession lifted. First, making them to my sisters was a huge deal for me, because I knew at this point that my actions spoke for me. I can say these things to them, but the biggest thing for me was to show up differently. And that's been a game changer in our relationship. So, yeah, when that mental obsession lifted, though, it was a miracle that I didn't even realize was there yet.
Right. Do you have a specific moment where you can specifically remember oh my gosh, I'm not thinking about alcohol, or like you said, it just came so slowly that you didn't realize it until it was there?
I didn't realize it. I remember driving down the street and just realizing I haven't thought about alcohol today, and calling Egan, my sponsor, immediately and being like, I think this is working, you know, I think my mental obsession is lifted.
Yeah.
And just it wasn't a light bulb moment for me, where I was like, oh my God, my mental obsession is lifting as we speak.
Right.
It was a realization of I haven't thought about alcohol. This thing that I've been so obsessed with for 15 years is not at the forefront of my brain anymore. And it was the most freeing feeling I think I've ever felt before.
Was that the moment you knew this program worked?
Yes, absolutely. I knew it was working because I had seen little like spiritual experiences happening in my life and promises being answered or coming to fruition more so. And I had kind of felt like the bits and pieces of the happiness and the joy and the freedom, but not to the extent I felt when that mental obsession lifted. It was, I don't even have words for it.
Yeah. What would you tell someone if they're listening to this that maybe they're afraid of the amends or they're worried about making them? What would you tell someone listening?
Make them. Your life depends on it.
Yeah.
It truly does. These things are just fears, and for me, I've come to realize that fear lives in the future. So just being right where you are and being present in the moment is huge, but just get it done because your other option is to die an alcoholic death.
Right. What does your life look like in 10, 11, and 12 today?
Oh, man. It's, life still happens and life has its ups and downs. But the difference is I have spiritual tools to handle life now. And I can truly say, even with life doing its thing, like I am so happy and joyous and free. I have a purpose now. Maggie's has given me a purpose. And what that looks like for me is I will make sure until the day I die, I give back to what was so freely given to me. I get to help so many women today that are struggling, whether it's at Maggie's, outside of Maggie's, whether they're an alcoholic or not. I get to help friends that know they may be a little different and point them in the direction of Maggie's to get true education on what the disease of alcoholism looks like. I get to work on my relationships, and build really strong, healthy ones. And I get to show up so much differently for my family today. Also, circling back on my mom, I think a lot about her because she didn't have that fair chance to really learn about her disease like I did. And it brings a lot of gratitude for me that I got that chance and that she's not suffering anymore.
Right. Right, because you have been super involved. You literally said that you called and screened for Next Step, like without, before you even set foot out of our Gaston house.
Yes.
I know you've been around, you've chaired meetings, you overnight, you sponsor women, you're a part of Maggie's women's group. This community, I always say that First Step gave me the education, but it's the community that saved my life.
Oh, yeah.
Can
1000%.
Yeah. And it's not just the relationships, it's that ability to give back. It's, the Magdalen House isn't just here for the 14 days. It's here for a life, and you get to help recreate lives. Would you say giving back is a big part of what keeps you recovered today?
Oh, yeah. I would say the number one thing that keeps me recovered. A lot of people that are struggling in addiction don't realize how much they're helping me more than I'm helping them. The girls that I sponsor, they don't realize how much they help me.
Can you explain that a little bit? Because just for people listening, and I know especially when I was in early recovery, I was like, well, you're helping me a lot, so that doesn't make sense. Like, what does it mean when you say that they're helping me more than I'm helping them?
It takes me completely out of self. And I think that's the biggest thing, because my recovery today looks a whole lot different than it did almost a year and a half ago. Today, my recovery isn't about not drinking today. It's about staying out of self and not being selfish, not being stuck in self-pity, all those things. And so in sponsoring women, it's really such a beautiful thing because it gives me that direct opportunity. And they always seem to call at the perfect time.
They do.
When you're in yourself, you know? Getting to walk alongside them in their journey and whatever that looks like is so beautiful because it was done for me. So, which I like how someone had said one time, like, it's the best pyramid scheme ever because it's free and we're all just helping each other. Like walking each other to freedom and true happiness and true joy.
Yeah.
So
if somebody listening to this was struggling with their drinking or struggling with, maybe potential alcoholics, what would you tell them?
There is a solution. If you are a true alcoholic like I am, there's a solution, and you can recover from this hopeless state of mind and body. Education is everything. Come to the Magdalen House.
What would you want them to know about the Magdalen House?
About how I would want them to know, one, that it's nonprofit. These people, most of the people that work here are true alcoholics and are true recovered women. So it has that depth and weight. Also, I would want them to know that they're going to get education of what it really means and what it really looks like to be an alcoholic. That was the biggest thing for me, that education and knowing that the people that work here have that depth and weight. And there's selfless people that work here that aren't even alcoholic. That's true. How much this program means to them, too. So it's just really, the Maggie's is a gift that keeps giving.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you said, the beautiful part about all of this is, you got to do this for free.
Yeah.
So what does that mean to you that not only did, you get to stay in this house for 14 days for free, that you continue to be able to come back for free, and you got the solution for free? What does that mean to you?
God, it means more than I can put into words, for sure. It's something that I constantly think about, and how and what and where and like what I can do to keep showing up for Maggie's, the place that saved my life. That has a lot of depth in it. And for me, it's just, it really is, it's a feeling, it's like the gratitude. It's not something I can explain or something I think I can ever repay, because it's truly like restored my life and given me hope to live from someone who wanted to die.
And did die.
And did die twice.
Yeah.
So this place, I will forever give back to the Magdalen House, because it was, everything that was given to me was so freely and graciously given by people who truly care about people who are struggling, needing to find the solution.
If you want to find more information about the Magdalen House, you can visit our website. You can see our socials. The Men's House and the Women's House holds meetings 4 times a day, and you can find that schedule on our website and get connected. Or if you're a family member, we also have a family support committee. Savannah, thank you so much for your time today. I love hearing your story, and I find a lot of similarities in it, and I hope some of our listeners will too. If you're looking to get in touch with Savannah for sponsorship, you can catch her up here volunteering, overnighting. She just was our 2025 Women's House Volunteer of the Year. So you can find her and get in contact with her. And yes. Savannah, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks for listening to Recovered, Interviews with Alcoholics. If this episode has offered hope, clarity, or comfort to you, please consider making a donation to the Magdalen House. By paying it forward, you help make sure the next alcoholic gets the same chance, completely free. You can give anytime at magdalenhouse.org. We release new episodes every first and third Wednesday, so be sure to tune in. Want to learn more or stay connected? Visit magdalenhouse.org or find us on social by searching The Magdalen House. The Magdalen House is a privately funded 501c3 nonprofit in Dallas, Texas, and every program we offer is possible because people like you choose to give. Thank you for helping us change and save lives.